Hey everybody, my name is Sean Pitcher. I am your local dietitian here out of Atlanta, Georgia, coming at you with another recipe that we're going to be throwing down today in the kitchen. So, this is a dish that my mother learned from a German or European person that she worked with way back in the day. I've kind of put a little bit of a twist on it in comparison to what she did. I'll give you an idea of what the original version is, and I'll see some things that I've added specifically to it. But what we're gonna need to get started, you will need your cutting board, you will need a nice sharp knife like we talked about in previous recipes we went through. Your ingredients you'll need, today I have chickpea pasta again. Really liking this. It has 11 grams of fiber and 19 grams of protein in one serving, and the serving is 1 cup. So this has been something I like to switch up in between regular pasta. Lentil pasta is also another one that is very high in fiber and protein as well. We have our tomato basil chicken sausages. I have some mini sweet peppers, red onion. You can use yellow onion, you can use a white onion if you want. It's all about preference. I have some fresh garlic. We've got 2 tablespoons of peanut butter. And this is the kicker, which I know you're gonna be like, no way, why are we sticking that in there? But the kicker is we are gonna be using cottage cheese. Yes, cottage cheese, per serving, half a cup, 11 grams of protein. So when you pack the pasta, the cottage cheese, and our chicken sausages, this is gonna be a very high quality, high protein meal that you can throw together, getting protein from several different sources. Now, how did it used to be made? Over on the stove over here, I have a pan on medium heat. I also have a pan with water that's currently a little bit of salt, a little bit of oil. That's for one, increasing the flavor a little bit, and then also trying to prevent the noodles from sticking together when they are boiling together. That's all prepped and ready for us to go. But the original used to be butter, onion, garlic, okay, which that's what we're gonna saute up first. And then it was just the pasta and the cottage cheese, and that was it, with some salt and pepper, which I will be also adding today. But I have added a little bit of a twist to it with the sweet peppers, the chicken sausages. Sometimes I throw a little bit of paprika in there into the dish as well. It just depends on what I'm feeling that week. If I'm feeling nostalgic and I want what mom made me from the dish she originally got from her friend that she used to work with, I go with that. If I want the twist and to add a couple different things, which like I'm doing today, that's what I'll usually do. So once the water boils, we will throw the pasta in there. Your pastas all take a little bit different time, anywhere between 4 to possibly 10 minutes, depending on the size of the pasta, the type of the pasta. If it's pasta in a box, or if it's obviously fresh pasta that you made from scratch, the time can differ when it comes to that. But what we're gonna get started with first is all our vegetables, because we want the vegetables to be sauteing up in the pan while we start working on some of the other stuff. So first thing we're going to do is I'm gonna break and cut down my onion. So I'm gonna cut off both sides, all right? If you want to leave this butt end, which I've done in a couple other videos, to allow yourself to kind of anchor when you're cutting, you can do that. If you wanna cut both sides like I did today, you can do that. Depends on what you would like to do or what you prefer, but gives you a couple different options on how you wanna cut your onion. All right, how am I gonna cut my onion? I'm gonna come in holding from the top, come in from the side. I wanna cut it almost nearly in half. I'm leaving a little bit at the end so that way it doesn't totally fall apart on me. And I want my onion to be very small diced. So I'm gonna make slits across the whole entire onion. You see I'm holding the outside, which is allowing me to keep it together. And then again, using that bear claw on top, holding my 4 fingers underneath the knife and wrapping around, or you can hold on top. Everyone has a little bit different grip with how they cut their vegetables. And then again, I'm just cutting down and away. Now again, this looks pretty easy because I'm doing it really fast. If you are a novice with cutting, you don't have to cut it as fast as possible. We don't want any cut fingers here. I've just been cutting things for a long period of time. So my speed in which I can do it is much faster than what I used to do. But again, practice makes perfect. You're never gonna learn everything in just one try or one day, unless you're some type of crazy savant. But practice is gonna make things happen and perform a lot better when it comes to our cutting skills here. So I'm just gonna cut up this other side of the other onion. And then directly after that, we'll start cutting up some peppers and we'll start cutting up the garlic as well. Again, you can see all these different colors that I'm gonna be adding to this dish. We have this nice whitish purple with the onion. We have lots of different colors, reds, oranges, yellows, over here with our peppers. I'm gonna throw this butter in the pan right now. All right, you can hear that butter sizzling. That means our pan is ready to go. So I'm gonna throw the onion in there so that can start to render down and cook. And then I will start adding in the other stuff as we go. Next thing you wanna do is the peppers. So with our sweet peppers, I'm cutting off the top. I'm cutting straight down the middle. That's an option you can do, and I'll show you a couple different options. And then I'm just gonna cut across. And you can have your pepper basically cut in like halves. All right. You can see in the top of my sweet pepper, all my seeds are on the top, so I've cut those out, and I'm not gonna get all those seeds inside of this dish. All right. Or the other thing you could do, you can leave the pepper whole, and you can cut straight down as well, down and away. And you can see we kind of have two different shapes here. We almost have a round shape, or you have the pepper cut in half. And then I'll show you one more way you can cut it too. Let's get you an orange one so we have all the different colors in here. So another thing I could do is I can cut the pepper in half like this, right? And kind of like the onion, I can slice down again, slice down again. So almost kind of like a julienne type of style cut. And then I can cut it in much smaller pieces. All right, so you can see on my dish there, 3 different colors. Okay, we cut it 3 different ways. Again, the texture, the appearance, all that makes a big deal, especially if you're serving this to people. Or again, if you just want it to look really nice when you're serving it to a loved one, your family, impress somebody that's coming over, business partner, whoever it is. That's some different things you can kind of throw in the mix for your cooking to make it a little bit different. So I'm just gonna mix this around a little bit so I can make sure that butter is melted everywhere in the pan. Don't worry, we'll get you some action to show you what it looks like. I'm gonna cut up a couple more peppers because again, we want kind of an even balance of vegetables in there. We don't want one just dominating the other. And I'm just gonna finish the rest of these off, kind of a half cut where I cut it in half and then just slice down and across the pepper. Now, always remember, you can see I'm trying to incorporate vegetables into the dish. If you're someone who's a picky eater, you don't like vegetables, I highly recommend sticking and mixing vegetables in with some of your carb dishes. So whether that's potatoes, whether that's pastas, whether that's rices, right? You know, and if you really enjoy those different type of carb options, the positive that comes with that is, you know, mixing it in there, using different sauces, using different spices can mask those vegetables and make them, the textures or the taste of them, not as apparent. And some of those things that you add in there can obviously overcome the taste of the vegetables, which can then allow you to incorporate them and make you want to eat them or include them in there. Now, next thing I have here is our garlic. You're gonna use the butt of your palm. You're gonna push down. Okay, and what that does, that's gonna separate the garlic bulb so that now I can pull all my garlic pieces away from each other. All right, so I'm gonna use probably about like 3 cloves of garlic in this dish. If you really, really love garlic, maybe you can use half a clove of garlic, or depending on the type of dish and what it requires, you can use more or less. Again, a lot of cooking is really up to you on how you want to make it and what goes into it, right? Obviously, there's always going to be the recipes and the standards and how much you stick into, you know, specific dishes. But, you know, a lot of times this is where the creativity comes and you kind of make it into your own. If you like certain flavors stronger than other ones, you know, that's essentially in your ballpark for what you want to do. So I have all of the outer skin off of my garlic. Now again, I'll show you kind of like the peppers, a couple ways you can cut it. You can leave the garlic as is and just cut down and across. You can kind of have these long, like cylindrical pieces. Okay, so like that. Or you can do like I did with some of the other vegetables, and you can cut a couple slots across. And then we just have, you can see, some smaller pieces there, right? Each of these are all gonna require, cutting these different ways is all gonna be based off of preference in the dish and what you're making. All right, so all of our garlic is done. Again, over here, making sure we're mixing around our vegetables so they're getting evenly caramelized across the board on all sides, right? If you're fancy, and I'll pull the camera up a little bit closer over here, all right? And you want to try to use it without the spoon, okay? Get all your vegetables to the end, and you're gonna pull up and back, right? And that's just a different way where you can mix the vegetables around. If you've never done it before, I recommend don't have it super full, or do it a little bit slower to give it a try. I've had times where I first tried it, I started flicking the vegetables in the pan and shit went everywhere, which you don't want to run into that situation either. So we got our onions in there, we got our peppers in there. We're gonna throw that fresh garlic in there now, right? We have it on that medium heat, that's starting to caramelize. And then we're gonna throw down our chicken sausages, all right? So if we're looking at protein options, right, a chicken versus a pork sausage, your chicken sausage is gonna be a lot leaner than a pork sausage. Now it doesn't mean, right, that you can't eat pork, don't eat pork, all pork, cuts of pork are not good for you. Whatever the type of meat is, it's really all gonna depend on the type of cut of the meat, right? So if I have a pork loin, that's gonna be a leaner cut of meat, right? If I have a sirloin steak, if I have a boneless chicken breast, those are gonna be leaner cuts of protein, right? Versus if I have a piece of coated skin on fried chicken, or if I have a ribeye steak, or if I have like a pork butt, those are gonna be higher fat or not as lean protein options. So, how am I gonna cut these sausages up? You could do it 1 by 1 if you want. You could do it 2 by 2, 4 by 4. These are a little bit slippery coming out of the package. So I would probably go less just to make sure you don't cut yourself. And again, just like the vegetables, you can cut these however you want. You can just cut them down and across, right? You could cut across and make small little bites. Again, up to you. I'm just gonna go down and across, and we're gonna have these little sausage circles that we're going to throw down into our dish. And I'm going to use a whole pack of these. We want to make sure we got lots of lean protein in the dish today to match our carbs, which we're getting from the chickpea pasta. And then we have our color and our vegetables in there with the 3 ones that we just cut. I'm going to throw those into the pan. All right. I got a second pack. We're doubling it up today. 8 chicken sausages in our dish. And again, you can see it's really not a lot of ingredients, okay? Sometimes simpler is better. Minimal ingredients is better. There's lots of dishes where you might have a lot of ingredients, and that's okay, just because the dish might require it. But especially if you're having to remember a recipe and there's less ingredients, it can definitely make it a lot easier. If you don't remember a recipe, that's why you got your phone, write in your notes, put it on a sticky note, however you track or remember things. Because a lot of times we're putting these recipes together, obviously now with YouTube and videos like this, we can obviously have references to go back to pretty much anytime we want. But If it's something that comes from your family or grandmother or mother, dad, whoever it is, always worth finding a place to save it, so you can always be able to go back to it. So our vegetables are looking really good in here, but now we're gonna obviously brown up the sausage that we have in the pan. All right, and then we're gonna add a little bit of our seasonings. So all the cutting is over with. Let's give you a little action shot. So that's what the pan looks like. We're gonna season everything up. Again, like we said before, salt and pepper. You can stick in virtually anything, and it is gonna enhance the flavor of your dish immediately. All right, also you see there's no specific amount here. Be generous with it, right? Sometimes you can taste test it in between and know if it's good or not, if it has enough seasoning in it. Obviously, if it's a different type of cuisine, Italian, Mexican, Latin, Belgian, Romanian, again, everyone has different types of dishes they make. If they use certain spices and herbs, you're gonna know pretty fast if you have enough in it or not. So we can see our boiling water over here is ready to have our pasta be thrown into it. So I'm gonna pour that on in. So again, this pasta only takes 4 to 6 minutes. So I'm gonna come over here to the timer. I'm gonna throw it on 5 minutes, so we'll go in between. If you cook it a little less, it'll be al dente. If you cook it a little more, it'll probably be a little bit more done. It will depend on how you like your pasta cooked. Some people like it firmer. Some people like it to be a little bit softer. Right? It's essentially going to be up to you. Sorry, I take something out of the oven real fast. All right. So we are just waiting for this to continue to keep cooking down. Our pasta's going, and now you can see this is going to be coming together really fast. Okay, I'm going to turn this heat up just a little bit over medium because I want to get a nice little brownness on our sausages while our pasta is boiling. And today I'm going to actually throw in a little bit of paprika. So let me go in the old spice cabinet and take a look where it is. Here we go. Paprika, if you've never seen it before, is red. So it adds a nice little color to the dish. One of my favorites is a nice smoked, well, let's add it all in. There wasn't much left in there. A nice smoked paprika is one of my favorites, actually. And we're gonna mix that up in there. So you'll see when we throw the stuff together, right, obviously this is completely white. A lot of those seasonings and caramelization that you're gonna get from the dish here, we're gonna add some different colors, nodes to that dish. Now the other thing about having, obviously, or adding cottage cheese in this is obviously it's a dairy source, and dairy is great for calcium and vitamin D. So I know you're gonna look at this and you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, here we go. He's got the cottage cheese. I don't know if we wanna do it or not. Trust me, I was skeptical too when my mom first made it. But it adds a, you know, when you have these, like, basically it's like curds, like cheese curds almost. But obviously not like the huge ones, but much smaller. When you pour it in there, you start mixing it around, you get that nice stringy cheese that you guys, you know, if you have like let's say a cheese pizza, for example, right? It's something kind of I go to right away. You know, you take the pizza off of the pan from the whole entire pizza and the cheese just stretches. It's kind of got something very similar with this as well. When you pour that in there, you start mixing it around, like the cheese starts stressing off of your spoon as you're mixing it. So, kind of gives you a little bit of a memory there. You know, being from upstate New York, we had a lot of Italian food. So cheese and sauce and pastas, pizzas, sub sandwiches, deli sandwiches. something I'm definitely very familiar with and used to having on a regular basis because, you know, a block away from me was basically like a little Italy. And no, I didn't live in New York City. I lived in upstate New York, and it was mostly Italian immigrants that had come into that area. So we were exposed to a lot of great, high quality Italian food for some time. Now I'm just going to reposition over here. I'm going to show you how we drain our pasta. So I have a strainer that is inside of our sink, right? Put the strainer in the sink. Don't hold the strainer. Don't try to prop it up over here. You don't want to burn yourself. The water is extremely hot. So if it's in the sink, you pour the pasta in, the water goes into the strainer. Outside of it, the pasta stays inside. Give it a little shake in case there's any excess stuff on top of it. And that way, you won't burn yourself because no one wants that to happen. Funny side story, one time my mother wanted me to make some tea. She had this glass canister that she wanted me to pour this hot water into. She had some tea bags. Wasn't thinking nothing of it, just like, sure mom, I'll help you out. I'll put the tea in there, or the hot water in there for the tea so you can get your tea made. And the whole entire thing collapsed, went all over my feet, and I got second-degree burns. It wasn't a good day, right? I couldn't wear regular shoes for a while. It was a lot of no socks and really loose-fitting flip-flops. All right, so our pasta is done. So we're gonna bring the pasta over. And again, as I said, we're just gonna pour that in there. Make sure you have your head back. As you can see, there's a lot of steam, right? Steam, just like the hot water, can be equally as hot. So do not underestimate that. All right, let's get all the steam away so you guys can see what I'm talking about here. So you can see I'm just gonna shimmy shake the pasta back and forth. I'm getting all the excess water off of there. All right, now we are gonna come back over to our pan, and this is where you're gonna see we're gonna throw everything together in one pan. So, salt and pepper done, so let's throw those over on top of the oven so they're out of our way. So we got our cottage cheese, we got our pasta, we have our mix of our sausages and our vegetables, brownie and caramelized in here. And all I'm going to do is we're gonna throw these all together kind of in a sequence here, right? So let's get you over to this. See a little bit closer. All right, so I went with obviously the bigger pan here so I can fit all the ingredients in. So first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna stick the pasta into the container. I'm gonna throw our sausage and vegetable mixture on here. Put that on top. Again, you can see all these nice like brown little like nooks on the pan, all caramelized from the vegetables and the sausage. You definitely want to get those off of there because that is a lot of flavor that is going to be going into this dish. So you don't want to miss out on that. Right? And then the finale, right? Again, here's the cottage cheese. This is what's going to basically bring the whole dish together, right? If you just did the sausages and the vegetables and the pasta, right? There's no like sauce or anything that brings them together, and this is what does it. So we're gonna pour this in and scoop the rest out of it. All right, we're using a whole container. Now all you gotta start doing is you start folding it in, okay? Turn your heat down to about half, right? Because we don't need it as hot anymore. We just need it warm and hot enough to help start mixing and melting our cottage cheese in the dish. All right, let's get you a little closer so you can see what it looks like as we're mixing. All right, you can already start to see, right? Some of those curds are starting to melt, and we're getting that nice stringiness that I was talking about from the cheese. Again, just covering all the bits on the pasta, the sausage, the vegetables, and you just want to get it nice and incorporated. So this is what you would call folding. So I'm coming from the bottom of the pan, folding up and over. I'm coming from the bottom of the pan, and I'm folding up and over because I want to make sure everything is incorporated, right? I don't want one part of the sausage to be all on one side of the pan. I don't want this huge chunks of cottage cheese to be in one side of the dish, right? I want everything to be as equally, as much as possible to the best of our ability, mixed across so that they're evenly distributed. So that way the flavor is all across the dish and we're not just getting little pockets here and there. Now, it is obviously delicious when we get some little pockets of flavor in our dishes, but we don't want one to be overwhelming more than the other, right? We want kind of little hits of different flavors at times as we're tasting the dish, right? Whether it's the cottage cheese, whether it's the pasta, whether it's the vegetables, the caramelization, right? You want essentially layers of flavors to be hitting as we are eating this. So that is it. That's all it is. Now again, this video is about 26 minutes. If you were to throw this together yourself, it'd probably literally take you maybe 15, 20 minutes tops. It is a very fast dish to throw together. Whether it's on the weekend when you have some time or for dinner at night for the family, when you also probably don't have a lot of time because you worked all day and you're coming home and you got a couple hours to cook and get ready for the next day. This is something you can throw together that's going to have all the components that you would need for a performance plate, which is the protein, the carbohydrate, and the color coming from all the different vegetables we have in there. Shout out to Samson. Appreciate you for the shirt and the gear. If you guys need obviously equipment for your weight rooms, definitely a great high quality company to go with. Again, if you want to watch more videos on sports nutrition, cooking videos, we are having more videos coming out from Laura with strength and conditioning, talking about concepts, talking about movement patterns. You'll be seeing a lot coming out, specifically talking about squat progressions. That'll be on our Instagram channels and our YouTube channel. So whether you want to watch the short form or the long form, we have both of those that you can go towards. All of our digital links are in my Instagram bio, so go ahead and click there to get everything that you will need. Hope you guys enjoyed. Really appreciate you guys listening and continue to watch all the great content we're throwing out for you guys. Have an amazing weekend.